Hi, and welcome to the Kasie Show, where top leaders spill the tea. In this week's episode, where top leaders spill the tea, we will meet Deedee.
I'm so excited to be here.
Deedee wears many different hats and has taken her skill set in education and stepped out onto the platform of using technology so she can share her ideas, content, and resources with the international education community. Deedee offers lesson plans, materials, free webinars, resources, and a podcast. So I think the better question is, what doesn't she do?
Stick to her diet, actually. Oh. Yeah, she doesn't stick to her diet or meet her fitness goals, but she tries.
Okay, guilty.
I think that whole do it all is a myth when it comes to me, because you can only keep so many balls in the air at one time. You put focus over here, this sorts to side, so back and forth we go.
What inspired you to become an entrepreneur, or a teacherpreneur, as many of us call it?
So there's this space that some of you may not know about. It's called Teachers Pay Teachers. And I had bought resources there, so I was on their newsletter. And it was the day after, I remember exactly where I was in my house. The day after Christmas, we got the newsletter, and they were talking about this person named Deanna Jump, who had earned a ridiculous amount of money, in my mind, selling her resources online. I'd always created my own resources, in the classroom. I taught second grade, kindergarten, always created things, games, those types of things for my class to use. Never really thought about selling those things. So when I heard about her success, I knew that as a family, I had a teacher's salary, which most of you probably know, you're not going to get rich on it.
Right.
And, I had, $15,000 in student loans, so to say I was living paycheck to paycheck is probably not accurate, but money was allotted for. And so I thought, well, if I could just make a couple $100, I called it my shoe fund. I wanted to make so I could go buy shoes and not have to worry about it, right? In fact, my checking account now says Deedee's Shoe Fund.
Really?
And so it started off that way. And pretty rapidly, I realized, hey, you know what? This is actually a viable business. This is something that eventually, years and years later, replaced my teacher salary. It's not overnight. It's a lot of work. But if you have the staying power, then that kind of focus pays off.
Knowing what you know now, is there anything you would go back and tell yourself when you were first starting out?
Things have really changed, because I've been doing this since 2009. So in 2009, I don't think Facebook was a thing. I don't think it was. I mean, it was maybe, but never more than like a MySpace kind of thing. Remember MySpace?
You're showing our age.
I know. So a lot of social media platforms have come and gone. As soon as one of these new platforms come out, Facebook being one of them, people, we got to get on this, we got to get on that. But the one thing that you have control over is your email list. I really started my email list 2015, 2016, I think is when I really started focusing on that. What I love about the email list is that you create a relationship with people. You can send right to them exactly what you want them to know, and they can open it up whenever it's convenient for them, right? And so, and you can give them things, and you can teach them things, and you can deliver it right to their doorstep. So you have to have a method to grow your email list. So I would have loved to talk to 2012, 2013, Deedee Wills, who was worried about, Facebook or all of that other stuff, and realizing that the critical thing for any business is to grow that email list, because nothing converts like an email list. Absolutely nothing converts like an email list. And here's the deal. I think the thing that really holds up, and if you guys are listening to this and you're thinking, I don't know what I want to say yet, you don't have to say anything. All you have to do is start collecting the emails, and every once in a while, send them something. Send them like, hey, I'm glad you're here. Here's something that, if you're making, wicker baskets, I don't know. But if you're in the business making baskets, maybe you've curated 5 pictures of ways that you can, decorate with baskets, and you can send those pictures to them. Just give. You don't have to ask anything. Just continue to give until you have a plan. And if you don't have a plan this year, no big deal. Just continue to give. You are creating a relationship with the person on the other side. So, and I love me some gifts. So yeah, they'll stay with you because they're like, hey, you know what? I love seeing Kasie because she understands I love wicker baskets. She's giving me all these ideas. I want to stay with that. She's not asking me for anything. This is a great relationship. And then when you're ready to ask, they'll be there for you.
I'm glad you're saying that because I am doing these interviews because I'm kind of at a place where I was like, I don't really have anything yet, but I want to build know, like, and trust and provide value to the group, even though I don't really, I'm not using it as a business yet. So
right.
You provide a lot of value in your emails.
Well, thank you.
There's always some kind of information or some kind of freebie.
There's lots of different people on your email list. There are people who've known you for years, right? Mm-hmm. They have been, they've been getting your wicker basket email for a long time, right? So they know you, they trust you. Maybe they buy resources from you already. Then you have the person who happened upon you. And so those are the people that you want to make sure that you continue to kind of curate that relationship as well. Lots of different people.
What advice would you give to someone who is just starting out in offering online educators?
Find your own voice. I don't know if y'all remember, but remember Jordache jeans, like back in the day, right? And so people had Jordache and then everybody made knockoffs of Jordache, right? So you could get the real thing or you could get the cheap versions of Jordache, right? I think that teacher authors should all be Jordache. They should all be original. Yeah. I know that we open up files and we see this is exactly like this one over here. And this is exactly like this one over there. So now the only thing that you have left is to undercut somebody in competition price, right? So if you're charging $30, they're going to charge $20. That's not really what the point of being a teacher author is, right? That's not the point. Mm-hmm. The point isn't to see if I can undercut everybody else. I'm not going to copy somebody else and make exactly the same thing, but just make it cheaper. Right? Mm-hmm. The point is to create something that's not there. What is it the teachers need that's not there? Create it. That's the point of being a teacher author, right? That would be my advice. One, I think it's unethical to go and look at any everybody's business and then like pirate their stuff and then claim it as your own. I think it's bad karma. It's probably good for money. It's probably a good money strategy. Like, why reinvent the wheel if somebody's already done all that work for me? But at the end of the day, the reason why most of us go into business is to offer a service to the people who come to us. And if it's just a matter of price, not that I'm saying that you want to make it affordable, you want to make it obtainable, especially for teachers. I mean, they're not bringing home six figures, right? They're cutting coupons. They're working summer jobs. They're working evening side hustles because they have to, which is a whole other subject we could get into.
Right.
But what we want to do is make sure that we offer them something that's not there. That's the reason why I created my resources that I use in my classroom, because I would sit there with the students saying, you know what, they need XYZ and I can't find it anywhere. I'm going to make it. Or I'm going to use this old family game that we played, but I'm going to turn it into a game that we do for learning. And I'm going to make it in a way that other teachers can also do that. So figure out what's missing and then do the work, because it is work. It is work to do the work, right? It's very easy to take somebody else's product, whatever it is. If you're selling iPhone holders or whatever, it's easy to take somebody else's work and just kind of copy it. Mm-hmm. It's harder to create. And if you are creating something that's not there, it's like birthing a baby. It's hard. Those of you who don't know, Deanna Jump and I have since become really good friends. We collaborate on a lot of things. And we created a writing curriculum, wasn't there. We created a math curriculum, wasn't there.
Love it.
Created a science of reading curriculum that wasn't there. So all of those pieces that I thought, I know that this is great practices. I know that this is going to change the way students learn. Mm-hmm. But the way that it's suggested we do this is very cumbersome. How can I make this easy and obtainable and sustainable for teachers? Because the work of creating it themselves is really hard. And if I can give them a shortcut and make some tools in there that's going to make it really easy for them to implement and not involving 4 hours of planning every night to make it happen, then I'll do the planning. Yeah. You have your weekends back. You just pay me for that. And, for $70, you don't have to do that every day.
And also the fact that you guys not only made the product, but to have the day one lesson plan written out for me, or the curriculum, the full curriculum lesson plans. Just made this teacher super happy.
Oh, thank you. Originally, I didn't, because, oftentimes our instruction that we teach today depends on what we saw yesterday, right? So that's how teaching really should be. We should be looking at, what am I noticing that my students need more of? And it's going to be different year to year. However, if you don't have the routine in place as a teacher, if you don't have that routine in place, then the idea of customizing every single day feels overwhelming. And when we feel overwhelmed, we sometimes kick that practice out of our routines because it feels overwhelming, or like, I can't get to that, deep thinking today. I'll do that tomorrow. So the idea is we do have day one, lesson one, or, month 4, lesson 8, whatever, right? Whatever it is. But as teachers become artists in their in their teaching practices, then they're going to take that lesson and say, "Oop, I don't want to wait until then. I need to bring that in right now, and I'm going to use that right now." So the idea is that we've given sort of like, you take this artist class and they show you how to start a painting from beginning to end.
Right.
But then when you become your own artist, then you start to borrow and take and then customize it for what you really see in your own classroom.
So what do you think are the qualities of a good entrepreneur?
You have to know when to pivot and when to stay the course, I think. So, for example, when 2 years ago, almost to the day, we went from teachers teaching in the classroom face-to-face to everything online. And when it happened, my business, in 2 days, it tanked. So I was like, okay, well, that's it. But I thought, okay, what do they need? They need digital resources, but I don't know how to make those. I need to figure that out. And within a week, I had figured out how to make things. I got in and talked to the teachers, like, what do you need? Like, what is it that, what can I give you now that's going to help you get through this really painful period of time? And just a lot of listening and then staying the course and working through that hard season. I will say, remember I said diet, I can't stick to my diet. During that, there was from March until May, I was working 12 hours a day. I was not exercising. I was feeding my feelings. I gained 15 pounds in like 3 months because I wasn't exercising. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was taking care of my business. I was taking care, but really, I think I was taking care of teachers as well. Because I don't even know how hard that was. I could hear how hard it was. I was doing Facebook Lives every single day in my group saying, what do you guys need? This is what I'm thinking. Does this help you? And I was sharing my screen and showing them what I was doing and showing them how to do it. If I don't want to buy that from you, but I want to make something like that, showing them how to do it. And I believe that ability to stay the course, but also know how to pivot, right?
Yeah.
Was important. I think a lot of teachers in my lane at that time were not moving over to digital that quickly. They were like, well, this is going to pass. And I'm like, I don't think it's going to pass. I think this is a long, hard stretch. And then some said, well, I don't really want to make digital resources. It's like 5 times the work to turn something into a digital resource. For sure.
Really?
You have to decide, am I in a spot right now to take on that challenge? Some people may not be in the spot personally to take on that challenge, right? You might have other things going on in your life that doesn't permit you to do that. If I had a sick parent, if I had, a child who had special needs, or some of those things where you need to give yourself grace and say, I'm not in the season of my life where this is possible. But if you are, suck it up, buttercup, and get it done, because those are the moments that are going to shift your business from identified as one way to identified as another. I found a new audience as a result. I had to go buy new clothes because all my clothes were too tight. But,
right.
What goes up must come down. So.
Right. I totally watched you pivot through all of this too.
Yeah, so you were there for it. You saw.
I remember you having to switch and going to a lot of these online webinars and things now that we're talking about it. So I wasn't in the classroom anymore at that time. I was actually online already, but for different reasons.
Right.
We moved back to the States. So I was just doing all online teaching. So So you're not teaching in the classroom anymore.
I do not have my own classroom. There's 2 classrooms here in Colorado that I spend a lot of time with. I travel a lot for my business. So, I have 4 pretty large speaking gigs in March that I'm going to. Like, finally to face and face again. I mean, I've done a few already this year, but I have a few big conferences that I'm doing, a couple of school professional development that I'm doing. It would be very hard for me to have my own class and do what I do. I had said earlier, you can't have it all. You have to decide what it is that you want to do. Where my heart is in class with 5 and 6 year olds. That's where my heart is. And so when I made the decision to do what I do as a full-time gig, it was very, very hard for me because it's like planning a wedding, but never going to it, never having it. You plan these lessons and, to see that moment when it clicks with students on a daily basis feeds you as a teacher or whatever business it is. But somebody said, Deedee, you have to choose. Either you can affect the life of 20 students in your classroom, or you can, train thousands of teachers, is what I do now, thousands and thousands of teachers. And then they can change the lives of their students. And I feel like, not that I, split the atom or anything, but hopefully I have made teachers better in their practice, or maybe even just made their jobs easier. If I can make their jobs easier, that's what I'm here for. But if I can make it easier and more effective, then that does affect the lives down the stream a little bit. And so that is helpful. But, when I was doing both at the same time, I would finish teaching my students and I would have to be gone. I'd have to fly out like Wednesday night for a Thursday, Friday thing. So I'd finish teaching. At the time, we were 2 hours from the airport. I get in my car, I drive to the airport. I wouldn't get my head on the pillow at the place where I was going to be at until like 3 o'clock in the morning. Some people get a lot of energy from talking in public. For me, it's not. I mean, I love doing it, but it doesn't, it's tiring for me. So by the time those 2 days are home, I'm done and I'm coming home, I'm laying my head on the pillow at home at 3 o'clock in the morning. Then I got to get up and do it again. It was exhausting. And so I was not healthy. So, again, you have to pick and choose the things that you can do.
Yeah.
So setting realistic expectations on how because you can't fill from an empty cup, right? So you've got to make sure your cup is taken care of so that you can service those people who are coming to you to have their cup filled.
Well, if no one's told you lately, you have changed the lives of so many teachers. You and Deanna Jump were the first ones I started with on Teachers Pay Teachers. So
thank you. We're old. We've been around a long time. We're old,
right?
But, we are very lucky that the platform was there for us, that allowed us to tap into what our passion is. So if you're thinking about what is my business going to be, if you're not a teacher, that may not be, obviously teaching wouldn't be your passion, but figure out what it is, because you want to spend a lot of time in it and make sure it's something that gets you excited. I still get excited when I make something new. I'm like, this is so cool. I can't wait to show everybody. So, that's why, 12-hour days for me, they're tiring, but it doesn't feel like a sacrifice from time to time when I have to do that because I get excited.
Right. So what is something fun or interesting that others may not know about you?
Fun or interesting? Well, I have 2 dogs, Ozzy and Harriet. They're Labrador retrievers. I'm not sure where they are right now. They're probably terrorizing something outside. When I wanted to become a teacher, our son was 3. The perfect son was 3 years old. He's now 26. So, but I needed to get my teaching credential. And, like I said, we were like most people. We did not have extra money laying around. I couldn't quit my job. I worked full time as a medical administrator. I couldn't quit my job, but I had to go to school at night, and those courses were very expensive. So in order for me to pay for that, I joined the military. So I was in the, Navy Reserves for 6 years. So I got the Montgomery GI Bill. My husband's still in the Navy Reserves, 33 years. So he's ready to retire soon. So, but yeah, I joined the military. I spent 6 years. I went to boot camp when I was 33. Yeah,
I can't even imagine. I was 18 and that was hard enough.
That's a whole other chat we could talk about.
Yeah, let's do it.
But you know what? It taught me that, one, I worked full time. I went to school full time. I had a 3-year-old. I did Navy on the weekends, 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. Did that for 6 years. Obviously, the 3-year-old grew. All right. But what it taught me is that I can do hard things. And still somehow have a semblance of a personal life. My husband and I are still married. We didn't kill each other. So I think that if you really want to do something, you're going to figure out a way. Because I mean, I couldn't pay for, I think the tuition was $2,000 a month for those evening classes. There were, one class a month, that kind of thing. So yeah, I didn't have that money, and I didn't want to rack up that much in student bills. I did have to have some student loans, because I got my master's right after my teaching certificate. So yeah.
We have so much in common. I got my master's my first year teaching. I don't know.
Like, why do I do this to myself? I know. You're in the zone. You're in the painful zone. Get it done, right?
So you gave us so much to think about today. How can people get in touch with you?
So my blog is called Mrs. Wills Kindergarten. Some people think it's Willis, but it's Wills. So Mrs. Wills Kindergarten, that's my blog. You can find my social media channels on there. I don't spend a whole lot of time on social media because I really prefer to communicate through the newsletter. So you can join my newsletter there.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I will add all the links you need below, and we'll see you all next time.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.